Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today to learn about how to have abundant energy, vitality, and master your health so you are then able to master your life by bringing the healthy, vibrant, energetic body, mind, soul to your business, to your relationships, to everything that you do in everyday life and show up with your true authentic self without going to stimulants, so you have the full energy to grow and thrive geometrically in all areas of your life. Now you agree with me, I'm sure, that when you have an ill health, whether it is at mental level, at your energy level, whether it is your physical health, whether you might have some muscular pains, or you may experience some discomfort in the body, or soreness in the body, or gut issues, or maybe due to high stress having insomnia, you will find when you have any disequilibrium, any lack of homeostasis within the biochemistry, you will find that when you show up the next day, or even how you feel within yourself is not quite right. Now, when things are not quite right, of course, in the body, what does that do? Of course, it's going to impact everything in your life. It's going to impact people around you and your energy. Again, everything's all energy, right? Your energy is going to transform into your environment. And it is going to have significant impact on the people that is in your environment, and also in your relationships, in your work environment. So any environment really, you will find even that bit of lack of sleep can contribute to so many things. Even again, go back to the lack of sleep. Very simple. You will agree with me. When we are lacking sleep, what happens? Our language is different. Our perception is different. The meaning that we give to things are so different. Our communication is a bit on the slow end. Our articulation is on the slow end. Being congruent changes, doesn't it? So just giving examples of that, you'll find that even having that lack of sleep can impact the other areas of your life. Now, particularly if you're a business person, an entrepreneur, or you're running your own business, or you're working in a corporate environment, or you're a CEO, you will find that when the language pattern is not right, or when our language of describing things based on the perception that we have and the meaning we give to things, it impacts everything in our life. Whether you might be going into a business dialogue, negotiating a business deal, you'll find if the physical health or the mental health, if the emotional health or the psychological health isn't right, and it comes in and impacts even your dialogue, your communication, your relationships, your congruency, and your presentation. You'll find at that moment you are not articulating, you are not very clear in the mind, you may be a little bit foggy and disoriented. So that's exactly what I mean. By mastering your health, you are then going to be able to master your life and thrive geometrically in all areas of your life. Now, today I'm going to talk about, and I think I'm a bit constrained with time because I've been given only 19 minutes, but I want to describe and go in to give you an insight about what it is about the health of the internal environment and also the health of the external environment and how they come in to contribute to our health and well-being. Now, when I'm talking about the health of the intrinsic, and I've been doing this for many, many, many years now, I'm talking and referring about the mind. I am talking the intrinsic, what is within us. So the mind is within us. What else? We have the physical body. And in that I will go in deep and I'll dive into how our gut health contributes to our mind as well. What else is actually in the within that internal environment? So you got the soul, the spiritual health as well. And of course, there's different other areas of our life that we can focus on. But today, I really want to focus on the power of the mind and how that comes in to contributing to our physical health and also the health of the relationships that we have, again, either at personal level or at business transaction level. Now, I've been working with many CEOs around the globe as a integrative nutrition and health coach, as a qualified mindset coach and chiropractor, and also being able to study with wonderful people around the globe in human behavior. I am able to assist my clients, and most of my clients are around the globe. Most of them are CEOs, entrepreneurs, celebrities, elite athletes, and business leaders, powerhouse women, powerhouse men. And I find doesn't matter what background they're from or what qualification they have, the challenges are no different. And most of the challenge, the biggest challenge I find in the society is really not being able to master the mind. And that is, again, remember I described, that is within us, that is the health of the internal environment. Now, let me go a bit deeper and describe and tell you all about the power of the mind and what I mean by that. Now, the mind, the health of the mind, is determined based on, number one, your perception. Anything that we see around us, whether when you are in a business transaction or when you are at a park or when you're observing or maybe even watching my video now, through the moment of you will have a perception, and through the perception at that very moment you will have a meaning, and the meaning will then determine the language that you use. That language, my friend, will either take you to prefrontal cortex, which is the creative brain, the executive center of the brain. There you are objective, you are creative, and you see things the way they are. Or you may take this information that I'm presenting today, and at the moment of the perception, you will have a meaning, and through the meaning, you will use the language to describe how I'm presenting. You will either judge, criticize, or you may not. But again, this is an example. So at the point of perception, there is a meaning and there is a language used. It could be maybe that you are sitting at a meeting and somebody might put their opinion forward, and at that very moment, you may either judge or criticize or be very neutral and take it on board. Now, when we are, again, the language determines how we also feel intrinsically, not at just the mind level, but also at the physical level. But I'm going to go into it very deep. So the meaning, the perception, the meaning, and the language, based on where you're at the health of the mind. If you judge, say, for example, you automatically go to fight and flight response of the body. And that is controlled in the mind by a part of the brain called amygdala. Now, that center of the brain will take you to disequilibrium. You are at not ease, the body is not at homeostasis. There is that imbalance of the mind. The mind, the hindbrain, which is the amygdala, it judges, it criticizes, it sees all the negative meanings to things, it sees all the wrong things in things, and it will take you to fight, flight, freeze response. And let me tell you this, when we are at that state, when we are at fight, flight, freeze, we are not authentic, we are not congruent, we are not clear, we are very foggy, okay? And at that mindset, you will struggle to make commitments either in life or in business because you don't have clarity. So what you want to do is take care of your health of the mind by being objective and working on the prefrontal cortex, seeing things as they are, appreciating things for how it is turned out and performed out, and being very objective and see it as it is rather than judge it. Now, when you are operating at that part of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive center, and that's where we don't judge, we're objective, we're creative. You are going to execute, you are going to go further, and you're going to feel fulfilled and you are going to be at ease, balance, and at homeostasis, and you will have equanimity and equilibrium within. So the health of the mind is crucial because of that. Now, what else happens when the mind is not balanced? Remember, I talked about fight-flight response, and I talked about being objective, right? The amygdala, the prefrontal cortex. Now, when we are at disequilibrium, or when we are judging, or when the mind is not balanced, basically, that's what I'm trying to tell you, the nervous system will also become imbalanced. So the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the digest, the rest and digest and calm part of the autonomic nervous system, will be downregulated when we are judging, criticizing, and we're not objective. And the sympathetic nervous system overtakes and creates that disequilibrium also in the nervous system. So can you see how the language pattern, based on the perception and the meaning we give to things, impacts everything else in our life? Now, I want to give you an example of that, right? Very common. It could be a mom, working mom or not working mom, or anyone, or even in the workforce, really. I find the language is huge. There is a lot of I have to's. Can you also pay attention to my physical body now when I say I have to, and see what happens to my physical body also? I have to check my emails. I have to attend to that text message. I need to get onto that client. Can you see when I say it, my body becomes tense, my face is tense, my shoulders rise and they become tense. Can you see how that language also transfers into how I'm feeling physical level? Okay, so you know exactly what I mean. So I want you to really catch yourself and see how many times that you are using I have to, I have to, I have to see if you can replace those with I get to's or with a different word. So language is crucial when it comes to creating the equilibrium and balance in the mind, and also contributing to the intrinsic health and mastering the intrinsic health of the mind. The other area that I want to touch on, again, it is part of the intrinsic environment and the health of the intrinsic environment, is the physical. Okay, so what do I mean by that? The whole body. What do we have? We have the musculoskeletal, we have the skin health, we have the nail health. So it's basically the whole thing. We are talking in the body. We're talking the health of the organs, okay? So when the body is not healthy, and I want to talk about this because particularly gut health, I find with my clients, it's really in the way of their decision making, their execution, the way they present, either to themselves, the way they present to the external world, to their loved ones, or in business, is impacted so much. I had a client, actually, she came to one of my events, and as I hugged her, I found, there was that bit of friction on the arm, the little sort of like a goosebump. And I did call her later on, and I did tell her that the skin translates to something else in our health and well-being. And I did do a stool test with her to find out that she had Candida in yeast. Now, that's a gut issue, but through that, you know how she was feeling? She was feeling so fatigued, she was in also depressed state. Energy levels were so down. She stopped what she was doing. She then completely tried to focus on her health. She was an event manager. She couldn't be productive. She couldn't get things done. Things were overwhelming. She had insomnia. So her whole health was being impacted. And through that, of course, she wasn't able to focus. She didn't have clarity. She didn't have confidence. And she, as I said, quit what she was doing at that time. So through the gut health, basically, Candida is something that, is linked and has relationship with our digestive tract. And I find it is at the moment huge globally. Now, how do you know you have gut issue? Many people ask me this. If you have any food intolerances, if you're not feeling right after eating certain foods, that already tells you through the symptoms. Again, symptoms are feedback from your physiology to let you know something isn't right. Through that, you will know that things are not going well in the biochemistry. And when the biochemistry isn't right, it affects the well-being of the mind, the well-being of the physical body, our language pattern, our confidence, our congruency, and it really gets the body into complete disequilibrium, and the body is not at ease, it's not at homeostasis. So can you see even that gut health at physical level, I particularly want to bring that up, can impact the health of the mind, the clarity, because there's that fogginess can take in. People find they're a bit slower with their actions, even with their words. Things are getting a bit lost. They're forgetting their words, or they're forgetting the action step, or they simply do not have the energy and they have the foggy brain. They have extreme fatigue. They're not able to perform. The other thing is stress. Stress is a huge one. It affects your adrenal glands. And through that, particularly if you're a female entrepreneur, guess what happens? The pituitary hypothalamic adrenal axis becomes dysfunctional, and many things happen there. There's that insomnia, there is the interruption to the endocrine system, the hormonal health, and much, much more. Stress is a big one. We're all working in the modern world, and things are getting too much. For some people, again, it is the perception. The too much is the perception. How do you go about managing that? What's the meaning you give? How can you work on that? That's something, again, I help my clients with, but I find that's also another one affects the physical body. And when the physical body is impacted so significantly, just through that gut health that I just mentioned, and also the stress, levels that we experience. And again, this is all about the perception too. The whole stress is all perception, what we create, the urgency that we create about daily tasks, particularly work, or I find working moms or celebrities got a lot of things on, or CEOs or small business owners. There is a lot on the shoulders, right? And we all agree with that. But instead of saying I've got too much to do and creating that urgency and putting more pressure on ourselves, what I suggest and recommend that you work on managing the stress before it manages you, because through the language you use, stress already started managing you. And how do we get the term that, how do we use the language? Remember, I said it is perception and the meaning. So you may look at your email box and you've got a lot of emails. So based on your perception, you will give a meaning and then you will use a language. And that language, my friend, will translate to different energy flow inside our body. And it will change the whole communication in the cells and within the cells. That translates to, at physical level, tight shoulders, tight muscles, pain, insomnia. In the mind, we're not balanced, we're a bit stressed, and we're all over the place. And we show that through energy and our dialogue that we use. And that energy, my friend, radiates through, right? You find that you're not tolerating, you're not seeing things as they are. And that's going to impact not just your health, but also everything else in your life. So I want you to really take this home and really reflect on this and see how just simple things that I've just mentioned today, which happens day to day, how it impacts your health and well-being, and how it translates in your life with communicating to others, your relationships, your money-making decision, your execution. How do you go? Like, how does it impact you? I want you to really take this home and reflect on this, because by reflecting on this and having mastery of your health, you are then going to be able to have mastery of your life.